Rose McGowan, a name that once symbolized Hollywood stardom, beauty, and success. But today, it carries with it the weight of pain, resilience, and survival. In recent years, Rose has revealed the darkest truths about her life, from the abuse she endured in Hollywood to the emotional scars she still battles every day. She has spoken openly about her mental health struggles, describing moments where the pressure, the backlash, and the loneliness nearly broke her. Her fight for justice made her a powerful voice, but it also left her isolated, criticized, and misunderstood. Rose McGowan's life is not a fairy tale of fame. It is a tragedy written in heartbreak, silence, and defiance. And her ongoing struggle is proof that sometimes survival itself becomes the greatest battle of all. You're watching Channel Name, where we uncover the hidden truths behind the lives of the world's most fascinating figures. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss a story that will move you, shock you, and stay with you long after it ends. But to truly understand Rose McGowan's tragedy, we have to go back to where it all began, her childhood. A childhood far removed from Hollywood glamour, spent inside one of the most infamous cults in the world. A place that would leave scars she would carry for the rest of her life. Rose Ariana McGowan was born on September 5, 1973, in Certaldo, Italy, to American parents Daniel and Terry McGowan. Her father was deeply involved in the controversial religious movement known as the Children of God. It was a group that outwardly preached spirituality and love, but behind closed doors was known for manipulation, exploitation, and abuse. For Rose, childhood was not an innocent time of play and discovery. Instead, it was a world ruled by control, fear, and strict rules that dictated nearly every part of her life. Rose has spoken about how, even as a young girl, she witnessed disturbing behavior inside the cult, things no child should ever see. At a time when most children were learning to dream, Rose was learning how to survive. Her parents eventually left the cult when the darker truths became undeniable, but the damage had already been done. Rose carried with her not only memories of those early years, but also the emotional scars of growing up in an environment where innocence was stolen. When the family relocated to the United States, they did not find immediate stability. Her parents' marriage collapsed, and young Rose was left navigating broken homes, fractured relationships, and a constant sense of displacement. These years hardened her. They forced her to grow up too quickly, teaching her resilience, but also leaving her with deep-rooted wounds. As a teenager, Rose ran away from home, determined to carve out her own path. She experienced homelessness, struggled with food insecurity, and faced the cold realities of survival in a world that often looked away from girls like her. Yet even in the darkest moments, she carried within her a spark. A sense that she was meant for something more, something beyond pain and poverty. That spark would eventually lead her toward the bright lights of Hollywood, though she would soon discover that fame carried its own form of cruelty. Her entry into the film industry was almost accidental. With her striking beauty and undeniable presence, Rose caught the attention of casting directors. She began with small roles before landing her breakout performance in the 1995 film The Doom Generation. The film was raw, controversial, and bold, much like Rose herself. Suddenly, Hollywood took notice. She became known as the edgy, daring actress who was unafraid to push boundaries. By the late 1990s, her fame soared even higher when she starred in films like Scream and Jawbreaker. To the outside world, she was living the dream, a girl who had escaped a broken past and reinvented herself as a star. But behind the glamorous premieres and magazine covers, Rose was carrying secrets she could not yet share. Secrets about the darker side of Hollywood, a side she would only reveal years later. During her rise to fame, she entered into high-profile relationships, most famously with musician Marilyn Manson. Their romance fascinated the media, but for Rose, it was a turbulent time. The relationship placed her in the center of a world of chaos, addiction, and controversy. Though she has spoken of love and connection, she has also admitted the toll it took on her emotionally. As the years went on, Rose transitioned into television, landing a major role on the hit series Charmed. For many, this seemed like the peak of her career: fame, financial stability, and a devoted fan base. But even as audiences adored her on screen, Rose often felt like she was playing a role off-screen too. Hollywood demanded perfection, demanded silence, demanded that she conform to an image that never reflected the pain inside. The true tragedy of her Hollywood years, however, was not the pressure of fame, but the abuse of power she endured. In 1997, during the Sundance Film Festival, Rose was sexually assaulted by powerful film producer Harvey Weinstein. For years, she kept silent, trapped by fear, contracts, and a system designed to protect men like him. The trauma of that night haunted her, shaping her mental health, her career choices, and her trust in the industry. When she finally came forward decades later, she became one of the loudest voices of the #MeToo movement, a whistleblower who risked everything to speak her truth. But speaking out came with a price. Rose faced backlash, smear campaigns, and personal attacks. She was painted as difficult, unstable, even delusional. The very industry that had once celebrated her now turned its back on her. Friends disappeared, job offers stopped, and she found herself in exile, not because she had done wrong, but because she had dared to tell the truth. The emotional toll of this period was devastating. Rose has admitted to struggles with PTSD, depression, and anxiety. She often felt alone, fighting a system far bigger than herself, and yet she refused to stay silent. Her personal life was equally turbulent. She faced failed relationships, broken engagements, and the pain of trying to balance love with the shadows of her past. She never married or had children, and while some criticized her choices, Rose herself has spoken about how she chose survival and freedom over convention. To her, motherhood was not something she could give while still carrying so much unhealed trauma. Instead, she devoted herself to her own healing and to her mission of exposing abuse in Hollywood. The media scrutiny during this time was relentless. Tabloids dissected her every move, every statement, often mocking her appearance, her tone, or her anger. She was compared to other actresses, criticized for being too outspoken, too rebellious, too unwilling to play the game. For Rose, the pressure was crushing, but it also revealed her greatest strength: defiance. If Hollywood wanted her silence, she would scream louder. If they wanted her compliance, she would break the mold. In the years that followed, Rose stepped away from Hollywood entirely. She moved abroad, spending much of her time in Italy, far from the noise of Los Angeles. She focused on writing, releasing her memoir Brave, and creating the documentary Citizen Rose. These works were not just creative projects, but declarations of independence, proof that she would no longer allow others to control her story. Still, the battle inside her did not disappear. The scars of her past, from childhood abuse to Hollywood exploitation, remain a constant weight. Today, Rose McGowan continues to speak out, though on her own terms. She remains a polarizing figure, loved by some, dismissed by others, but undeniably unbroken. Her life is a paradox, both a tragedy and a triumph. She has lost much: fame, fortune, and the comfortable illusions of Hollywood success. But in losing those things, she has gained something far greater: her voice. Her health, both mental and physical, remains an ongoing struggle. Years of trauma, childhood abuse, sexual violence, media harassment, and industry betrayal have left scars that are not easily healed. Rose herself has spoken openly about her battles with PTSD, anxiety, and depression. These are not hidden wounds, but rather truths she insists on confronting publicly, because silence, for her, is no longer an option. And yet, there is resilience. She has inspired countless women to speak their truth, to refuse silence, and to demand justice, no matter how impossible it seems. For many, Rose McGowan is not a fallen star, but a blazing fire, one who chose to burn brightly, even if it meant burning alone. In one of her most striking reflections, Rose said, "I used to be owned by others. Now I own myself, and though it's lonely, it's free." Those words capture the essence of her journey. Freedom for her has come not from fame or fortune, but from reclaiming her voice after decades of being silenced. As we close this chapter of her story, we return to where we began: her ongoing struggles. They are not over. Healing is not a destination, but a journey, one Rose continues to walk with courage, vulnerability, and defiance. Her life is both a tragedy and a triumph, a story of a woman who lost nearly everything but refused to lose herself. And perhaps that is Rose McGowan's greatest legacy. Not the roles she played on screen, not the red carpets or magazine covers, but the raw, unfiltered truth of her life. A truth that forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about power, silence, and the price of speaking out. This is the story of Rose McGowan, the star who refused to stay silent, the woman who bore the weight of the world, and the survivor who continues to fight, even in the silence of exile. And that was the heartbreaking yet powerful life story of Rose McGowan, a journey marked by pain, survival, and unshakable resilience. If you were moved by her story, don't forget to support our channel by subscribing and turning on the notification bell. Here, we uncover the hidden truths and untold tragedies behind the lives of the world's most fascinating figures. Thank you for watching. Until next time, remember, behind every spotlight is a shadow, and every story carries a truth worth hearing.